Hey, how's it going? I'm IlaGolden and welcome to my vlog. Alright, okay, so at the end of the last one, I said that this one was going to be about hobbies, and it's going to be a little bit similar in style to how I did the last one, where I was sort of talking a little bit about me and a little bit about my writing within the sort of topic frame. At least that's the aim at the moment. Not sure how well that's going to sort of pan out. I think the main reason for it is in terms of what I was sort of saying at the end of the last one is that I honestly believe that hobbies are kind of subjective because what is one person's hobby is another person's possible career path or possible way of life. So justifying what is and what isn't a hobby is kind of up to the individual. I think themselves a little bit. I mean, because I am at this stage, yes, I am a published author, but I am not a successful author. People could still argue that writing was my hobby, even though I'm trying to make a career out of it. Likewise, YouTube is a hobby for me, but for other people it is their job, it's their career, it's their it's that thing that they do that makes them a living, that helps them survive in this capitalist world we live in. um, so I think talking about what hobbies I have, I've got to do it based on what I consider to be my hobbies, opposed to what are actually hobbies. Because I think, like I said, a hobby is a different thing for different people, and depending on how you sort of look at certain things, a lot of the things that I do that I don't consider hobbies, other people would because I'm not, at a particular level with it yet. So, yeah. So on that note, like I mentioned last time on the food one of my current hobbies is sweet making. It's something that I started last year. And literally, I was watching a program about sweet makers and sweet making. It's a little series that was on the BBC, and it was something I'd always sort of kind of thought about doing sort of before that point, because I'd been sort of into baking, and I thought, oh, maybe it might be cool if I could make some of my own sweets. I had some rather unsuccessful attempts sort of whilst I was with my ex at making or attempting various different things, but not really sort of going all in and sort of doing it properly. But since I was sort of on my own, and I thought, okay, maybe I should give this another try, and I discovered it was something that I quite enjoyed, something that I'm reasonably good at when I want to be. When I'm not just randomly experimenting, and some of my random experiments end up being fairly tasty. But yeah, it is definitely something I would consider a hobby more than anything else, because it's not something I do. It's something I do on a sort of semi-regular basis. Some months I might do it every week. Other months I might do it, maybe once or twice, just depending on how I'm feeling. And if I, have anything coming up or anything that I want to specifically make something for, I've mastered fudge. I've successfully mastered fudge. That's the thing that I'm best at the moment. So that's the thing that I sort of is kind of a little bit of my go-to if I'm making stuff for other people. I just like make up a batch of fudge, and yeah, it's fun and enjoyable. So other things I sort of do is, obviously, I do read. Again, it's not something I do a lot of. I'm quite a lethargic reader. I'm sort of fairly slow and sort of plodding in my reading pace. I mean, it's not it's not a snail sort of crawl, but I'm a very effortless reader, so I don't read as much as I know I should. And I say that because I'm a writer. So I've got this all, you read all this stuff about the idea that, writers should be well read, and that you should be reading this, that, and the other. And I'm, a lot of the time, I go like 7 months without reading anything, or other times where I might be reading something, once a week, but it's manga. And whether or not that sort of really counts. I mean, I count it, but not everybody would. I watch more stuff than I read. That tends to be how it sort of ends up panning out. And it is, as I said, I'm a very lethargic reader, so I do get very absorbed in a book when I am reading something. I was given a series of books by Jade for my birthday that I thoroughly enjoyed and I did actually read. And they were really good. But it was a case of I would sit down at like 6 o'clock in the evening, and at like midnight I would only be, maybe halfway through the book, and they weren't the overly thick books. I mean, they were probably thicker than some of the things I do usually read, but yeah, it can take me several hours to read something. And I like being able to do multiple things at the same time, which is why I like watching stuff and watching stuff and sweet making, or watching stuff and playing with my girls, or watching stuff and whatever else it is I need to get on with or want to be doing. So I think that's one of the reasons why, yes, I do enjoy reading, and yes, I would consider reading one of my hobbies, but I do not do it very often, because I don't feel like I have the time to sit and read, because that's it. That's the only thing I'm going to be doing in that stretch of time. So in terms of other things, listening to music, yeah. I would definitely count listening to music as a hobby because of the way I kind of listen to music. I like learning song lyrics. So if I find a new song that I absolutely love, you better believe that's going to go on repeat until I have the lyrics almost down. And yeah, that's how I like to enjoy music. So for me, coming from a family where music is something that's always been sort of very important as well. I think I mentioned that in the blog that I did previously about music. Yeah, it's definitely something that I sort of value and sort of find, both in terms of a relaxing thing and an enjoyment thing. So I don't just learn all the words of the song. I do quite often dance along, and I enjoy it. It's something that I enjoy. It's something that I do to relax. So enjoying music is definitely a hobby of mine, and certainly enjoying music in the way that I choose to enjoy music is a definite hobby of mine, even if it's not sort of necessarily something people would think of as being a hobby. Because again, as I said, hobbies are such subjective things, which is why I'm not going to include my YouTubing as a hobby, because that's something I'm doing to try to help my writing career, and I'm not going to include my writing as a hobby because that's something I want to make a career out of. But for other people, these are probably definitely hobbies. So I think that actually covers pretty much all of my hobbies. I mean, it's one of those annoying things. I get asked by doctors quite a lot, and it is specifically doctors quite a lot because various reasons. What I do in my spare time, and what hobbies I have, and I do find it a very difficult question to answer because, like I said, I don't consider my writing to be a hobby. Um, and although the YouTube thing is sort of, I do and I don't consider it to be a hobby, because on the one hand, it is something I do for my own enjoyment, that I'm not looking to make it a professional thing of itself, but it is something I'm trying to use to bolster my writing career. So again, it's one of those things that's like, I do it. It's one of those things that I do, but I don't necessarily consider it a hobby. Whereas like things like the sweet making, yeah, that's definitely a hobby. And the way I enjoy music, and I would consider watching anime a hobby because I probably do that more than I actually read. But in terms of and things like playing video games, it's something I do to relax, but I don't necessarily consider it to be a hobby, which is why I haven't sort of included it and into this. So yeah, it's one of those things where because of the way I think about it, because a lot of these things that I do are for enjoyment, in opposed to, a hobby. It's kind of like, yeah, even the sweet making, yes, I can see why I'm calling it a hobby, but actually it's something I do because I just enjoy doing it. I don't necessarily think of it as being a hobby. And feeding this now back into my writing in the time that we have left for this video, which I don't intend to be very much longer, I don't think my characters think of themselves as having hobbies. So I've been sort of thinking about all my characters and all the various things, especially sort of focusing on the second part of the Tales saga, the next generation part of the Tales saga. And I don't seriously think any of my characters actually have things that they would consider to be hobbies. Because for one reason or another, it feeds into either their way of relaxing, their way of socializing, um, or things that might bolster their magical abilities, or help out in other things and in other ways. And it's kind of like, I don't think I've written a single character with a out and out hobby. I think everything sort of feeds into something else, everything is sort of a part of something else. And I legitimately don't think I give my characters hobbies. And the more I've sort of been thinking about doing this vlog, and the more I've sort of been thinking about it as a topic as a whole, um, yes, I do have characters that will do some creative things like writing or drawing or stuff like that, but I don't think of them as being hobbyists when they're doing it, and I don't think of them as necessarily having hobbies. These are just things that make up part of their character. And I think the more I've sort of thought about this topic, in this lead up to having to do this, and the more I sort of considered what I was going to say, the more I've kind of realised the reason I don't give my characters hobbies is because I don't consider myself to have any hobbies. Yes, I've got things that other people would consider to be hobbies, and things that I do that I enjoy doing that could be called hobbies, but I don't honestly consider myself to have any hobbies because I don't think of it that way. And trying to think of it that way just kind of feels unnatural to me. And I think it would feel kind of unnatural to my characters to label these things that they do that are part of who they are as just being, oh, that's just that character's hobby, because I don't think that is the way I see things, and because I don't see them that way, I don't see my characters seeing them that way. Who knows, I might write characters in the future that have a completely different opinion to that, and that would be a challenge. And that'd actually be interesting to see what I could do with a character who has that sort of more rigid way of thinking about things. But in terms of this whole topic and this whole subject, I yeah, I don't think of the things that I do for enjoyment necessarily as being hobbies, even though yes, they probably are. Um, and because of that, I don't necessarily think of the things my characters do as being hobbies, even though they probably do have hobbies. I just don't think about it that way. So, um, yeah, I guess this has been a sort of confusing vlog. I hope it's been sort of semi-interesting. I hope it's given you sort of a bit more of an insight into me and the way my mind works, if nothing else. Anyway, next time my calendar tells me that I am talking about character do. It spells it B-E-A-B? Character bees? I know I was being weird when I wrote that, but I do know what I actually mean by that particular topic title, and that is I want to talk about characters that I love. I think I might do more than one of these. I think I might do one for other people's characters that I love, and one for my characters that I love. And I think the first one that I want to do is my characters that I love, and then follow it up with other people's characters that I love. Um, just because that's the way around that I think. When I wrote that, I think I was talking about my characters rather than other people's characters. So I think I want to do it that way around because that's the way my brain is thinking at the moment. Okay, hope that makes sense. Um, no, hope you guys have found this one sort of interesting, if nothing else, and I will see you next time. See ya! If you've enjoyed this video, feel free to check out some of my others, and if you like what you see, please like and subscribe. See ya!